Hey, Bulls and Bears, it is Friday, August 13th, 2021. Thank you for joining me. All right, Bulls and Bears, back with another dose of economic reality. We've got a lot of important data updates, news to get into today, and a lot more troubling news, troubling information, troubling economic data continues to pour out. And the really scary part is I think about 99.9% of the population has no idea what's actually going on behind the scenes. They don't know that the Fed is propping up everything. The Fed is literally buying everything under the sun. They don't know what the good economy is based on, right? When an economy is based on spending and consumption, all you have to do is make sure that banks are lending, make sure that stimulus checks, unemployment benefits, social security checks get sent out. So in reality, you could have 100% unemployment, but on paper still have a good economy as long as you send out money for people to spend, as long as people could take out loans and debt and have money to spend. You know what I'm getting at. So let's get into the news here. Stock market ended today mixed. Now, isn't it amazing that just the level of disconnect that we have in the markets versus the real economy? So doesn't anyone question why the Dow Jones is hitting record high after record high? Today we saw a little bit of a pullback, but record high after record high every week. And we continue to still have 10 plus million households not able to pay their rent. They have to continue kicking the can down the road on the eviction moratorium. We still have between 1.5 and 2 million people behind on their mortgages. We have the foreclosure moratorium. They had to extend the student loan repayments. They were going to originally start being repaid this year. Now that's been pushed back into 2022. We have to keep rates suppressed. We have to have the Fed active in keeping the markets propped up, buying mortgage-backed securities, taking the bad assets and the loans off of the books of the banks, because the banks are lending out way more money than they're taking in. And the banks and the system in general continues to leverage and leverage and leverage. And this is what keeps the illusion alive. But let's go back. Let's go back to the shutdown recession 2020. Remember on this channel when Dow Jones was dropping every day, panic, people said this was the end. This was the new financial crisis. It's here. And I said, no, wait a minute. It's going to go back up. I predicted Dow Jones 30,000. And of course, I was right. A lot of people said I was crazy. Look where we're at now, 35,417. But how are people continuing to believe this illusion? It blows my mind. Let's take a look if there's any relief on the horizon here. Oil dropped a little bit. It's down to about $69.22. I haven't seen gas prices adjust accordingly. And I think we're going to ultimately see oil and gas march much higher. And yet it seems no matter how much bad news comes out, the markets just keep going higher. And we see at the same time the Fed balance sheet continue to grow. So I'll let you connect the dots on that one. We also have a lot of institutional investors. And here's the story. Here's the truth on that. A lot of institutions also have access to the Fed window. So at the end of the day, the money printers, they can make these markets go as high as they want. Technically, you could see Dow Jones 40,000, 50,000. Underlying factors do not matter. Price to earnings, revenues, you name it, doesn't matter. They can keep pushing the markets higher. That's what happens when you have a baseless money system. And the real dangerous part is, well, it's dangerous both ways, going up and down on the prices. But if they were to pull back the support, you would see the ultimate economic collapse. And another scary part is no one knows if or when that's going to happen. So it's really hard to prepare for this because you don't know if and when deflation is ever going to happen. Again, they could keep it inflating forever, and there's no way to know if it's ever going to stop. So we try to continue for both scenarios here. And I've mentioned this many times. I've got cash on the side in case we do see deflation. Every time I see prices continue to skyrocket, I'm always second guessing that decision to have some cash, but that's what I'm doing. And, if I were to go all in on some of these markets, I'd see bigger gains, but I'm playing the cautionary position there of being, about half and half, right? Half invested in these markets in different assets, including digital assets and stocks, and 50% roughly cash in case of some sort of pullback, crash, or major correction. And being positioned like that is kind of nice. That way, when you see a big drop, you can actually go in and buy some of these dips. All right, but here's something that about knocked my socks off here. Fastcompany.com. Millionaires are calling for an emergency tax on billionaires. An emergency tax. So does anyone really think that taxing billionaires is going to fix this problem? I think they need to pay more taxes. Of course, a lot of them are working the system, finding loopholes and offshore tax shelters. But even if we did tax these billionaires, if we raise it up to 50%, that's not going to fix the problem. Debt is growing exponentially more than even all these billionaires combined. It's not enough to pay off the debt. All right, we're looking at between 260 and 270 trillion dollars. That's trillion with a T in global debt. There's simply not enough money in existence to pay it off. Why? Because the money that's lended out as debt, it's loaned, is just that, it's debt. Therefore, there's no actual money to pay it back yet, because the new money has to be printed just to keep the old minimum payment paid. So new money being created out of thin air. Some people call it printed. It's just digital form money in most cases, 90% of it. And that's how they keep the Ponzi scheme alive. So no, taxing these billionaires, I know it sounds good. It might feel good to think that Bezos and other billionaires are going to pay more. It's not going to fix the problem. Some seniors and people that are retired might see some relief here with Social Security. The increase this year is going to be one of the biggest we've seen in quite a long time. And ask yourself, if there's no inflation, why is the Social Security increase the biggest that we've seen in many, many years? And let's go down in this article here. We see the projected increase for 2021 is going to be about 6%. And we have not seen that big of an increase since all the way back to the 1980s. Right at the midst, or at the peak there of the financial crisis, we did see it at about 5.5%. So ask yourself, if there's no inflation, as the Fed is telling us, or if inflation is just temporary, why are they looking at one of the biggest increases that we've seen in many, many years? Also, is a 6% increase to Social Security going to be enough to keep up with the rising cost? Well, not so much. So some of these people are just making $1,000 or $2,000 per month, but most of these people are just going to get a couple $100 a year. And when you look at the price increases, it's no match. It's no match for all the price increases. When you have hundreds of different things that are going up in price, having a bump up in Social Security doesn't nearly keep up with the rising costs. All right, next, let's take a look at this recent article here, Wall Street Journal. This just tells you the insanity of how some people choose to spend their money. So we have this huge gap between the rich and the poor, and even between the middle class and the rich. It continues to widen. Some people have so much money to waste, they're choosing to pay $2 million for a chance to be buried next to Marilyn Monroe or Hugh Hefner. Can you imagine having so much money that you're going to spend $2 million to be buried next to basically another skeleton? Right? If I had $2 million or $1 million and I was going to pass away, I would definitely find something better to do with it than to figure out who to put my skeleton next to. You know what I'm saying? All right, so this is just the level of disregard for ever trying to help somebody. I mean, I would give this money away to someone that actually needed it instead of looking at a hole in the ground. You know what I mean? Of course, this is out of Los Angeles. Pierce Brothers Westwood Village Memorial Park in Los Angeles, where you could be buried next to the skeletons of the stars. Pretty crazy, folks. Keep stacking, keep preparing. Thanks for watching the support. Let me know what you think. Do you want your skeleton to be next to some mega stars? No bones about it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Stay well. Bye.